TCA Geek, and I want to thank you for stopping by. I get a lot of questions around the idea of trying to get buy-in and consensus between teammates and clients. What to do, kind of what's the best approach to take. In today's video, we're going to talk about just that, the idea and my quick tips on how to get and create buy-in for your idea. Now, these aren't a law by any means, but these are just a few tips of my own that can help bridge the gap between the idea and getting consensus enough to build resources around that idea. So the first thing we'll talk about is not so much a tip, but it's understanding a technique, and that is sales technique. A lot of people look at sales as some manipulative way to either sell a product or gain a client for services, when really it's in technique and methodologies around building a connection and a relationship with the person and or people that you're trying to position things with. Now, one of those things in the kind of sales technique is building rapport. I did a video, a quick one, that you can reference. I'll leave the link somewhere here below. That way it can give you a few tips as to what my thoughts are and how to go about doing so. But once you understand that technique and those methodologies, that will help you kind of build up a little bit more of your resource in order to position yourself in a way that can help get buy-in. So once you understand that, and those are techniques that you are comfortable with using, then I'd say kudos to you. Tip number one, I like to call this appeal to the audience. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we come in to communicate, whether it's a spouse, it's a family member, friend, or anyone, with the idea that we have that benefits us. Well, in the software development world, you have different stakeholders and people who have position in the organization to kind of give the idea momentum. So when you're talking to a developer, you kind of don't want to highlight all of the design aspects of those. You want to appeal to what's best in the position for that particular person. So developers sometimes, a lot of times, think in terms of coding. How could it make their lives and their jobs easier? Frameworks, things of that nature, things that they are already either comfortable with and that would help them be comfortable with facilitating this idea. And this spans across all different team members, whether it's sales themselves, marketing team, how to build in the life cycle and the sales funnel, design, QA, the process. So again, you just project management, you want to appeal to what you feel makes their lives, their jobs easier, so they can champion the idea and move that along a little bit faster. Don't always think in terms of what would actually just make the idea sell. Think in terms of a segmented approach to cater to the audience that you're speaking to. Okay, that's tip number one. Tip number two, since we're on the topic of ideas, once you actually cater and build your conversation around the advantages for the audience that you're appealing to, you want to be open and welcome ideas, right? So this is all about an idea. Let's say it's a new product initiative and you're pitching this because you feel that it has leverage to the company. After you've catered your pros and cons and catered the position of this idea to each individual team and segment, then you want to welcome their ideas, because as you start this conversation, they're going to have thoughts as to how to approach it in one way versus a different, or just additional information that will help facilitate this idea to grow legs and move along. Be open to that. Welcome those ideas, because you'll see it from a different perspective that they have, and it may even open the thought process around, hey, this was a great approach, but this could be better. Or we can test the idea using this approach and see if we can get more, let's say, user engagement. We can see and sift through the feedback that we get to make it a more robust product, or we can tweak things to improve it. So be open to those ideas. Okay? You'd be surprised what comes out of those discussions and those particular sessions where you have a brainstorming idea sharing moment. So tip number 3 is to make sure, I know we all, as people who hold on to ideas, make sure that not only are you seeing the positive and the advantages of this, but highlight the disadvantages. I know there are a lot of people that talk about, well, that's negative, and that is something we want to avoid. We want to give this idea the strongest possibility to see the light of day. Well, you also need to understand, with every pro that you have, there's going to be some disadvantages. And with that, once you highlight those, you give your team and the people that you're seeking this help from the idea to think through those things, and they create different alternatives to solve those problems for the greater good. It's not so much that you're highlighting what's negative or what could go wrong. You're just saying these may be obstacles that may surface while we're looking toward the finish line. So we need to be mindful of those things. And if we do, what are some deviations or some alternative solutions that we could actually introduce to overcome those issues? So never think about it in terms of like it's a bad thing. Think about it as an advantage that's helping move the process along better. All right. So those are my quick 3 tips to help you gain buy-in, gain some consensus around the people that you're working with. And again, 3 quick tips: appeal to the audience, give context, and make sure you structure your ideas around improving the workflow or the process for the people you're looking for help from. I know that was a tongue twister, right? 2, make sure you are open to those ideas once you get that feedback and get their perspective on things. And lastly, but not final, is welcome, highlight, discuss, share their disadvantages, share what obstacles you are set to face when you're trying to tackle this large initiative, because that will open a door to see feasibility, different alternatives that you can use to move things forward, and it doesn't pigeonhole the group nor leaves your idea that you're pitching flat. Okay, so that's all I have today. Hopefully these tips kind of work and help you in any way. If they did, do me a huge favor. I share a lot of ideas, a lot of tips, a lot of my thoughts and experience here. I would love for you to give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone you feel can benefit from it, and subscribe, as I'll be doing more of these to kind of help not only you, but the community as a large. I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments below. Until next time, design with life in mind, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.